And it's time for Past Attractions. Well, I'm Jeremy, and I'm not alone. I got somebody with me that's always been with me. He's always been with me in my heart. He's always been there with me in my mind. He's a good friend of mine. Nam, how you doing?
How's it going?
I'm doing fine, man. We are such big movie people. I mean, who's not a big movie person if you're doing a podcast or a video show about it? But I think what we really enjoy is going back to talk about like movies that we've seen before, or movies that we had never seen before, but they're old, but they're classics, and we never got a chance to see it. And you know, I like this idea that we're doing called Past Attractions because we want to go back and enjoy these old school movies. And so,
I mean, really, a lot of it is just because, man, we going back to our roots, Jeremy. We going back to the roots. Back to the feature days.
back to the features, yeah.
Back to the features days. I mean, y'all may not know what that is, but it's okay. We're bringing you guys a new and improved, refreshed version of it, even though you didn't even know it existed to start with. But it's okay. It's new.
Right, because it's kind of funny because in a way like that was our only access through television. Either like on Channel E to like Fox or Cisco and Ebert. Those were the only way we got to find out like through reviews of that. Other than that, it was like word of mouth. And so, and I think we agreed on like we're doing movies about what we're doing 80s, 90s, 2000, the 10s.
Things that are near and dear to our heart back
give
in
or
the
take.
day.
Yeah, give or take. And so, this is the movie we're going to be talking about is something that like you wanted me to talk about. We decided to go ahead and do this. We're going to talk about the classic childhood movie that kind of probably got people started into gaming in a weird way. The 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie, and or Mario Brothers movie, whatever you want to call it. And you got this is when Bob Hoskins is the star of the film. He's coming off of Hook. He's coming off of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So he is this guy that just works with fun like animation or kids movies, give or take. And then, of course, if I'm correct, Nam, this is the debut of John Leguizamo. At least for me, it's the first time I got introduced to John Leguizamo as Luigi. And then, of course, the iconic actor that you've probably seen him in. Actually, it's funny because this is the first time I actually watched it about a week ago of this recording, Apocalypse Now. And that's Dennis Hopper. Yeah, it's playing like King Koopa and whatnot. And then, we got a lot of these other list stars that, it's funny because like watching this movie, I try to look at the list of like who made it out and who's still doing movies. And some people are doing just straight television shows and whatnot, but none of them are like here today that people are really, really talking about. And so, but why this movie? Well, I guess we wanted to talk about like what is our time with this movie at the time, and then how do we feel now. So
Yeah.
I remember a couple things about this movie when I was younger. Is that one? I am a huge Mario fan. I'm still to this day. I'm still a Mario fan. From the Mario Brothers to the Switch of Mario Odyssey, I'm a big Mario fan. I love the platforming. I love the characters. I love the adventures. I love the level designs. All of that kind of stuff. Even from the side games that they did, like Mario Kart and the sports games and the RPGs. If it's a Mario game, I'm willing to give it a shot because most of the time Mario games are very unique and an interesting experience. I don't know where your line stopped for Mario Brothers, but I think everybody at least has touched on Mario Brothers in their life. If you were born in the 90s or you grew up in the 90s, it's almost like crazy if you never played a Mario game of any sort. But with this movie, though, one thing is for sure, Nom, I didn't care where this movie was going to be about. What were they going to do with it? As long as you had the check marks of the characters, like, is Mario in it? Is Luigi in it? Is King Koopa is in it? Is Princess... Sadly, Toadstool's not in this movie. We got Daisy and Sam from the Mario Land Game Boys, but whatever. Are the Koopas in there? Like, is the Mario elements in this movie? That's all I care about. I didn't care about, like, the craziness of this, where this story is, what's going to go. Because, of course, I think everybody's imagination was like Mario, and then somehow they're going to make you go through these crazy psychedelic worlds that is like the mushroom world and all this stuff. We didn't get that, right? We got a more, what happened if it was more grounded per se, or more into the real world, how that would how that would become. And so, you get the story about these plumbers that meet a girl, and ends up you finding out that this meteorite has came to the earth and just split into parallel, one basically in the Zelda term, one light world, one dark world. And we got all this, but I remember I went to go see in the theaters with one of my best friends at the time. My mom, bless her heart, was a trooper. Parents are like the biggest troopers of your childhood, because they will just take you to see movies even though, like, I do not want to see this movie whatsoever. But I don't know. My mom, she sat there and enjoyed it. I actually talked to my mom about that, and she doesn't remember it. She don't remember the movie. She just remembered that, like, you guys wanted to see it, and whatever. So bless her heart for being a good mother for that. And when watching this movie, going through the motions of like, oh, it's Mario and Luigi, they're doing stuff, they're plumbing, they're doing all this crazy stuff, they're saving the world, they're gonna save the princess. They it's funny, like, they followed the steps, but we totally got something totally different in that experience. So when going further into what I like about this movie and didn't like about this movie, now, do you have any memories of this movie? Did you get a chance to see this movie in theaters when you were younger, or did you have to wait to watch it at home on VHS? What was your early experience of this Super Mario Brothers movie?
So for any of the kids that happen to be watching this particular show that we're doing, a VHS is a big black tape that we put in what we call a VCR. Just VCR.
VCR.
Hey, here's the thing. It's Super Mario Bros. Like, for real. It is the originator for at least the generation that Jeremy and I came from, right? Because, the true originator, if you really want to go back to it, is like Pac-Man. It's like Pac-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, for us, in-home consoles, we caught the tail end of Atari, and we were really more of a Nintendo kid. So yes, like, Super Mario Brothers was like the game for us growing up. So knowing that there was a movie that was going to be about a game, which was like the first of its kind, it felt for us, because it was just like a in-home console comparable to other video game movies that they had. There were actually more movies that had games in them, not necessarily about the video game that we're about to talk about. My first experiences on this, man, I remembered the movie. I saw the trailer. I was excited. I don't know why I was excited. I was excited because it was the Super Mario Brothers, guys.
I agree. I think you were probably like me. Like, it had the characters that I want. I didn't really care about, like, whatever happened next, right?
I think truly we were all kind of like, how do you do a live action story about this? But it don't matter, because it's Super Mario Brothers. It's Luigi. It's Mario. I was excited. So yeah, no, most definitely. I went to go watch it at the theaters with my dad. I want to say that was with my dad, and I think a couple of my friends went with me. I'm not 100% sure. And it's funny because I know you said your mom doesn't really remember the movie. Don't worry, most of us don't.
I don't think my mom wanted to remember either.
But we'll get into that. We'll get into that, won't we, Jay?
Yeah. But it's funny because now I'm in the. I think by the time it's been 30 years now as we speak about this movie, right? It's like the 30th anniversary of this movie, as we're seeing more video games coming out more from that time. As I would maybe kind of argue, it kind of been still a bumpy road as video game movies. There was, some good ones pop up through the rubble of some of the movies, cheap budgets, whatever. But the funny part about this is, I think every 10 years when I watch this movie, as I am now, at the age of I'm 38. So going and watching this movie every 10 years, weirdly enough, this movie aged like a fine wine. That aged like a fine wine, but like when you pop it open, it's still bitter. but you'll still drink it.
All right, all right. I got
You,
something I can compare it to.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, okay.
I honestly enjoyed this movie for what it was trying to do. I think the problem with this movie, it just had the title Mario Brothers in it. And I thought about this when I was watching this movie again, and I was like, you know, could I watch this movie if I took Mario Brothers out of it? I've seen this movie a bunch of times, so I decided, let me watch this movie without thinking it's Super Mario Brothers. Like, could I enjoy just two random people that want to go save this girl from save this girl from a bad guy that wants to use her and a stone to collide two worlds together? And I enjoyed it for what it was for that. Like, I enjoy, like, these two people because, like, I think the Mario brings the stigma out because at the same time, I mean, yeah, like you said, like, what do you do with Mario Brothers, right? And so for this, I got the Who Framed Roger Rabbit feel. I got the feel of two worlds colliding in that way. And Bob Hoskins happens to be, again, on this ride. Because I always get that Who Framed Roger Rabbit feel of him. Because, like, yes, him with animation, with the Looney Tunes of Disney. Him now with video games. He's put into this other world. And now he has to deal with all these different creatures and other race in this other world. I forgot what the name of the city. I'm gonna call it Koopa City, New York, even though it's New York City still. But I'm gonna call it Koopa City.
Might as well, guys. Might as well.
But let's give credit where credit belongs here. I have to give them credit of, regardless where this roller coaster went, I think it was still entertaining for what it was. And as when I mean entertaining, I think the city that they created was still pretty impressive at the time. The fact that they got I forgot who people that gave them the money to, but regardless though, they gave them enough budget to give them this creative world of, you know, these new creatures coming in, fungus everywhere, cars that are right on rails, the technology of anybody can become a Koopa or a Goomba for what it is, costumes, and like some of the and even the nice touches of like iconic minion names that you see around the city, you know, like Bullet Bill, Thwomp, you know, Hammer Brothers Tattoo. I don't know if you saw that. That was the first time I ever saw that for the like 1,500 times. And it's right before you go to the club. It's in the background. It says Tattoos Hammer Brothers, and I'm like, huh, you know, I like how they brought us that world. And if you took away Mario Brothers, I would think, like, you know what, this is an impressive world that they have created for what it is. And, you know, as we get older too, I think we start realizing that most of the time it's not the actors' faults for anything. It's just what they're given to. And I think the actors did a great job for what they were given in this film. I think every actor kind of gave it what they got for this film. I don't think anybody was lacking, you know, that were really important. Even the small people like the goons that are like Iggy and Spike Koopa. Like, they came in as the goofy, you know, idiots. But I was convinced that they put it all in for what it is. And even though there's some characters in the movie that didn't really get a big shout out, say, you know, like Toad, I think is the one that got the least spotlight for everything, which, you know, it is what it is. I think the good part though is I enjoyed the journey, and I think for most video games, if you people might argue still might be one of the worst video game ever, which I disagree with that, because out of all the video games I have seen, this one's still here. It's still entertaining for what they were doing. You can sit here and, you know, you could talk about all the bad things about it and everything, but it was still entertaining for you enough to really laugh and have fun with it. And I don't get that for a lot of the other movies after that in the 90s, like your Double Dragons and all that kind of stuff. Mario Brothers did a good job of entertaining for the actors. So those are some good things that I appreciate about Mario Bros. Before I go a little bit further. What are your thoughts? Did you find, watching it again, did you find things that were good that you enjoyed about this movie that was entertaining?
Before I continue going on with the conversation here, well, shout out to Sandrock. Just letting you know you just got flamed there. Flamed! Like Like he totally flamed Dragon Ball or not Dragon Ball Z.
Double
He
Dragon.
flamed you on a Double Dragon. It was very toasty. Oh, all right. So the thing about growing up is weird, right? Because I feel that we forgave the movie when we were kids. When we first watched the movie, we knew it wasn't good,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
but it was still a Super Mario Brothers movie, Like,
Yeah.
but we knew it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Then we became like adolescent teens, and we were just kind of like, that movie sucked.
Hmm.
And it's like, yo, no, we too cool. We too cool for that movie. And then other movies came out too, like Mortal Kombat and like Street Fighter and stuff like that. Even though they weren't particularly good either, but still forgave them because that game, they're movies, right? But the older you get, I think it's interesting to see your perspective change. Because I mean, as a guy, back then I was like, I forgave the movie because it was the movie I was excited that it was Super Mario Brothers. And then as I got older, I was just like, this movie kind of sucks. Like, it's just negative Nancy about it. And now, even older now, Jeremy's 38 and I'm like, 33. No, just
Good for you. Good for you. I like to dream too.
Jeremy's 38, now I'm 40. The thing is that, watching this movie, I do have a better appreciation for the movie. I enjoyed it for what it is. There are parts about it that I'm sure that Jay and I will go through and we're going to sit there and try to dog it. But, I mean, for what they tried to do, I give them an A for effort for taking what this concept was and kind of splitting it into their own version of what they're doing. And what's interesting is Jeremy says that he has that what Jeremy said is that he has a feel that it was a Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The one thing that hit me early in the movie that just totally took me off guard, it gave me a Men in Black feeling.
Okay.
Because at the very beginning of the movie, John Legg was almost in there watching like the
miraculous world of mystery or something like that. Yeah.
They had that whole like the whole is just like he's from a different dimension. And all that stuff, and it just felt like a Men in Black thing, like as if I was expecting Will Smith to walk in there and be like, "Get your name out my mouth." Is that too early? Too early. Wrong one.
Yeah.
Come on, just look at this.
Welcome to Earth. That's what he comes in. Welcome to Earth.
Welcome to Earth. Wrong references, guys. I should have made the other reference first. My bad. Maybe too early. Too early. Or we riding that high, guys. We riding that high. But no, it really did have like a weird Men in Black kind of feel to it. Then that they went to a different world, and this whole world is full of foreign people, foreign like aliens, I guess, for us in our how we would perceive it. And the world itself was unique, and I like the fact that they did kind of play on the idea of, hey, what if we didn't evolve from mammals? What if we evolved? What if this world was evolved from reptiles? So it was an interesting concept to kind of see that and to see like the two worlds become what they become, and then see what the two worlds, like the differences between the two worlds. And it was interesting because I do feel like they tried to stay as close to the source material like early in the movie. And it was just, like, I think that was the most surprising part for me. I was just like, that's kind of cool that they really kind of stuck with as much of the source material as they could at the very beginning of the movie. Now, once they got to Cooper World, like that completely changed. But no, great appreciation for the effort. I give them an A for effort. I do like the costuming. I do like the kind of, I don't know, it's the dark grittiness of that world that they tried to portray. I can appreciate that, and I can appreciate the just, I don't know. You can tell it was like a balance of like a balance of a kid movie, like they were aiming for that audience, but then they were trying to be somewhat adult
Mm-hmm.
to kind of keep the adults in there, but it was like a kid movie within a very dark scene,
Mm-hmm.
and it was interesting. I mean, I think the biggest thing about that movie is that Jeremy should take like advice from Luigi in trying to get Daisy just throughout the entire movie.
Oh, just admit that I'm awkward up front and then see where it goes.
Yeah,
If you feel like this is not going well, please just walk away. But if you want someone to talk about, call me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It works. Like they met one day
movie
and they're
magic
like in
works.
love. That's how the world works, guys. That's how the world works. They are not fictional characters. No, definitely taking the next. Of course, you know, you just got to find your Mario where you're just like, you know, dinner tonight here.
You want to be my Mario? You want to be my Mario? Be my backup as the lines?
I don't know, man. I feel like Sandrock is gonna have to jump in, man. But then again, you just flamed him, so I might have to take the mantle.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. Good. I do want to give a shout out that this movie did have the best product placement, and that is the Reeboks on the Bomb's back shoes when it blew up Koopa. Just people know if you ever saw the movie you're talking about, because I didn't notice that till this time. Like, oh, Reeboks. All right. Because like I would have thought this movie would have a lot of product placement, and it didn't have as much as I thought it would. Were you surprised by that? Were you surprised they didn't put a lot of product placement in this? Like a lot of Nintendo products or whatever?
You know, I don't know if I was surprised by that, because what I think myself, I was really looking into trying to figure out what references to Super Mario Brothers I could find, like the Easter eggs for that. Because I never really looked for those, so I think I spent more time trying to pay attention to that and thinking about that in general. So I might have missed a lot of the product placement. I don't know why I keep thinking like Pepsi showing up as a product placement thing, but I don't know. There's like Pepsi's in like every movie.
Yeah, it's funny. I think Pepsi. I was trying to figure out who was more product placement in the '90s. Was it Pepsi or Coca-Cola? I have to say, I think it's more Pepsi.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it feels like it. Michael Jackson and everything.
Yes. When one thing did stand out that when the person that wrote the script for this, and after reading what he said, what movies influenced him for writing his script, I was like, okay, I see a little bit in there. He said Wizard of Oz, he said Dr. Zhivago, and Star Wars, and it was just very interesting. When I read that, I sat back after watching the movie, and I kind of sat back down. I'm like, I can see where he's coming. You could tell there's a lot of Wizard of Oz in this, especially,
I can see that.
You know, the whole like going to different worlds. The Goombas are basically like the monkey people that you would see for the witch. The shoes were probably the biggest shot out to it, because it was like, you know, put a bullet bill and click your heels 2 times to light up and then boost off. And I'm like, okay, red rubies, get it, and it even glow red when they light up. So I was like, okay, I get it. And so, the Star Wars thing, they said that the Trust the Mushroom was supposed to be the Star Wars, like, let the Force be with you. I'm like, try harder.
That was a reach. That's like a yoga stretch, man.
Yeah.
So much of a stretch, bro. No.
Yeah. And
you don't get credit for that, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then the Dr. Zhivago is basically humans turning into Goombas and stuff. Now of course this movie's not perfect. We all know about this. So some things age very funny, I guess, more than anything. And there's some things that, like, I felt like, you know, this movie could have been a spared experience if, I don't know, can we just cut the first like 10 minutes of the very beginning of like the Sega CD graphics with the talking dinosaur? Can we just throw up the title and then go right into the rain scene? I wonder if that would have been a different experience, because then that would be like, you're not even telling us what happened. We let the movie just explore that, because they talk about it again later on. And I'm like, I don't think like the 2 dinosaurs having the conversation and then the meteorites and then like, wait, but what did they come back? Because you saying that reminds me of Men in Black, that reminds me of We're Back, a Dinosaur Story, when that first started. If you remember that movie. But give or take, some of the things I think I was disappointed is, no, my nose is weird, but I think I was disappointed because they didn't lean on too. I wish they leaned more into the ridiculousness of what Mario Brothers was going to be. Like, I think automatically Mario Brothers is already going to be a ridiculous idea. So why not have more fun with it? Like, if Who Framed Roger Rabbit went safe, I don't think that movie would be as good as it is. You know, I think you have to lean on the goofiness. It is a video game. It is a kid movie. Like, just go into it. Even if some of the stuff does feel a little cringy, I think that's worth it because, like, you're already building the world. Just go into that. And I guess for examples of that is, I wish there were more human looking in the movies. I wish that we really got more of some of the iconic minions in there. Yes, we saw Goombas, but we never saw a lot of Koopas. We didn't see a lot of the Spikes, except Big Bertha, I guess, if you want to count that. We never saw people like Hammer Brothers. You know, we never got to see a lot of the mechanics of it. Or, yes, there's a guy named Toad, but they would have been awesome if there was, like, maybe less, like, maybe there was mushroom creatures in there, and they were just, like, little toads or something like that. There not have to be a lot of them, because this world's a wasteland and Koopa took over. It would have been nice to, like, see some, like, you know, some mushroom people kind of running around as, like, they're more of the homeless, or maybe they're starting a resistance. I don't know. I'm just throwing up something out there. I just wish there was more of leaning into the more ridiculousness of this. And the reason I also brought that up is the bumbling guys that work under Koopa, Iggy and Spike. And for people that probably don't know, playing recent Mario games, or you have played Mario Kart 8, they are the Koopa kids that they're referencing from. But in this movie, they're considered cousins to Koopa. And so I think it would have been more fun if you involve all the cousins, all of them in there. And I don't mean they all have to have their own spotlight, but the existence of them being in there would have been more fun to see a Wendy, a Roy, a Larry Koopa, and everything like that. Because having these two being the only two Koopas doesn't, of those kids, doesn't make sense to me. You could just name them anything else, and that would have been fine. But I don't know why that just stuck out to me. Because it's like, why just pick these two people out that are the cousins and not just go ahead and do the family? And I guess that's more of me. Like, I wish they lean more into that ridiculousness for that, and also including some of the ideas that they have for the minions. Like, yes, the bullet bills work for the boots, which I give them. I like the boot idea, but it would have been cool. And I like the super scope that they put in there because of the popularity, which that didn't sell nothing. But it would have been fun if the bullet bills were, you know, maybe fun. Like they found a fun cannon to shoot the bullet bills or something like that. Like, really lean into the funness of that. And that's why I appreciate the Bob part. That was a wind-up thing and just walked. I was like, that's cool, you know? And the fact that through this whole movie, it was just throwing it at you. Like, here's a Bob, here's a Bob, here's a Bob. It was just funny. And, of course, the iconic line of Bowser, Bob, you know, that part. So that was funny. That was funny for what it is. But, yeah, I wish it was, like, you know, maybe less human-looking and maybe more ridiculous get-ups for these characters. And I'm not saying that there was not a lot of ridiculous stuff, from the car chases to the Goombas, to the sliding bed in the sewer with the girls, the Brooklyn girls that have been kidnapped. Which, by the way, now missed opportunity for two reasons. One, Mario's girlfriend in that movie should name Pauline, because that's the name of the girl from Donkey Kong. And two, since they lean on, hey, humans came from apes, like, it would have been so cool if a Donkey Kong of some sort came in this movie, because it's like, apes, Donkey Kong. That would have been kind of funny in his own way, but whatever. I accept it for what it is. And then, of course, you know, like I said, like some of the cringiest moments don't work really well, but I'm glad I appreciate they were trying to. Like, of course, the iconic Mario and the Luigi Mario joke. I know it doesn't land very well to this day, but at least I give them a credit for, like, okay, you're trying to be ridiculous. Fine, cool. Let's go with that. And so, those are a couple of things before we go further into this. Is there anything that stood out to you in that were kind of ridiculous? Do you agree with me with the ridiculousness? You think it should have gone a little bit more, or you feel like, no, they're in a good place?
All right, so I did forget to say this before when we were talking about the likes of the movie. I really did like the cousins, Spike and
okay.
I thought those guys, like, they went for it. They truly went for it.
I appreciate the actors. I told you, I appreciate everybody that they brought it. They brought it.
I give them 110% credit because I appreciated them way more in this time watching them through than I have ever done before.
Mm.
I give them credit for just going for it. Like they weren't going to win an Oscar, they knew it, but they were just going to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Awards to you guys, like beer to you guys. So yeah, of course we can sit there and talk about like things that we didn't like about this movie, and I will say the one thing that really kind of surprised me as I watched the movie this time around that I really did not dig or did not like buy into was Koopa.
Koopa
Um,
himself. Yeah, King Koopa.
yeah,
Okay.
King Koopa himself, like
Mm.
Dennis Hopper, like great actor. I feel, and I don't know if it's because I've seen Jim Carrey do, Dr.
Robotnik.
Robotnik, but I just feel that his character just did not work for me.
Is it
It was
because
just,
it's Hopper being Hopper and it's not like he is being a different character? Because I 100% agree with you if that's where you're going with it.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is that the way? It's just like he's just like a highly germaphobe, just like he's kind of corny, but not in a good way. Like it was just
Wasn't
it
scared
just
of him.
it, it
Wasn't scared of
wasn't
him.
yeah it wasn't working for me. Like I I kind of envisioned this dude, as kind of
Yeah.
a bigger, darker
Mm-hmm.
VA kind of guy, right? And I was just like, yeah, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if this guy will work. This character, this Dennis Hopper character, works for me. It didn't work for me.
You have to admit though, like the lawyer Koopa part where like where's the meteorite and he's like and Luigi was like what and then like he just tries to choke him out like trying to like
Yeah.
but I thought that was freaking funny because it's like he just totally was quiet, got up, he's like okay. He just went all in. I thought that was funny. I thought that was like a funny moment for anyway, so go on, I'm sorry.
No, you're
Yeah.
good. Like more villainous. I think
Mm.
that would have made it a little bit better, in my opinion.
Mm.
As far as the ridiculous goes, I agree with what you have to say in that aspect because they did go ridiculous, but not in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like they missed the boat on where they should have taken the ridiculousness to, and then they went a different way. So like, I'll point out one of the examples that I saw that I was kind of like, this is stupid. Where like they got Mario and Luigi and they tie him up and they're gonna take, mug shots of him.
Mm.
And then they pull out those things that are like, oh, these are guns, and it's like, but they're obviously cameras.
Yeah.
But they point out the little red lights, and I'm just like, come on, man, come on, man. Who does that? Like, who gonna waste that time doing that? Like, if you gonna be dumb, like, be dumb, like for like the bombs, for like
Mhm.
the bullet bills, like. I would love to see Bullet Bill just roll through, like in the city, just everybody partying in the city, and then they look up, there's a big ass bullet just slowly moving across,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a blimp, like as if it's a blimp, but it's not really a blimp. But you know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I would love the ridiculousness to be like that, like in the things that matter to the game,
Yeah.
not
Here-
the things that don't matter to the game.
Hear me out for a second before you move on. Like, I wrote in my notes that with the music in this city, I got a wasteland Gotham City, and I
Okay,
wish
yeah.
I wish they leaned in more to the Gotham City because the Gotham City, you saw the balloons flying around, you saw traffic in the sky too, and I
Yeah.
wish that was like you said. I agree with that it would awesome to see a Bullet Bill or a Lakatu, the guy in the
Yeah.
cloud fishing or something like that, like a little more ridiculousness of making this city feel more alive and ridiculous than what it is. I'm sorry. Go on. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can see like the Hammer Brothers like going in there like and just breaking into like like banks or stores to try to like just stuff like that.
yeah,
I wasn't a fan of the fungus thing. Like
I
I
can
get
understand
it,
that.
I get it, I get what they were trying to do with it, but like that felt. I know it didn't hit right with me. Like I again, like I said, the ridiculousness could have been hit on other realms that meant more to the actual source material itself, and not so much like just random things. It's like, well, the king is fungus, okay, okay, and then like the de-evolutionizer and the evolutionizer. Like I like the idea because it would have been nice if they would have did exactly what you said. Like they de-evolutionized one of the guys, like a human being, like, and then he turns into King Kong, or not King Kong. Well, he turns
Donkey
into
Kong.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
He turns into Donkey Kong, and you're just like, oh, well, that's different. You know, like that. That to me makes sense. Like they de-evolutionized Koopa for like a hot second, and it didn't happen. Nothing happened.
Right.
And then next they made the cousin smart, which was cool. I mean, don't get me wrong.
That's where the acting was hilarious.
Yeah, that was funny. But the problem with that is like, why didn't you just do it with everybody?
Yeah.
Why have a bunch of dumb like mindless like drones? Like I get that you want that, but I mean, if you have like a bunch of people who are like your side bosses, like Jeremy's the end game boss and I'm an underboss. If you have underbosses, you want to actually make them smart. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. No,
but, I agree.
I agree with that 100% because the Fungus King didn't make any sense because it's like, okay, Koopa died. How are you turning back into human? Like that doesn't make sense. It's like if that's the case, shouldn't all the fungus in the city disappear if you're going to use this magical minus touch of his abilities when you kill him? That didn't make any sense to me. I think they were trying to say cuts because it was like I would have been more convinced if you took him to the machine and de-evolved him. But the fact he just and he came back kind of clean with a little bit of gunk on his shoulder. I'm like, okay, whatever. That don't make any sense. But okay, yeah.
Oh, and how dare you with Yoshi? How dare you with Yoshi? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Yeah. Let's move on, Jay.
yeah. I think one of the biggest elephants in the room is the Big Bertha scene because I think that was one of the biggest standouts because for one, the color code of Mario and Luigi was a little mixed. Like, why is Mario not wearing red? But I guess they're doing it because they want to save it for the iconic moment that he's going to wear the costume that we, as a kid, we've been waiting for. We're like, where are they going to wear the costumes? But as they're older, it's more of like, they could have got the costumes earlier. But anyways, the club scene was actually interesting because a couple of things. One, I actually went to go listen to the soundtrack of this movie because the 90s had some interesting soundtracks for movies like this. And so it was really interesting of where that soundtrack goes. And the reason I brought that up because most of your iconic songs are going to be in that club because they danced like there's like 3 songs that played on there. The Big Bertha dance song, and then everybody knew the dinosaur. And then there was another song before that. So that's like the big iconic moment. And I appreciate what they were trying to do. But at the same time, it's so sad to me in my mind that it felt like a waste of time because it's like Big Bertha is cool, but like she was only there for the fact of getting one thing and one thing only, The Rock. And it's like we could have rewritten, did something else with The Rock. Big Bertha needed to be in it. It would have been better if Big Bertha was somehow like a secret agent or a minion under King Koopa that we don't know of. That would have been a lot more interesting. Or maybe she is our Donkey Kong.
Maybe she's not Donkey Kong. That's not a joke about her size. Just her presence is what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I wish she was utilized a little bit more because she got the moment that with the whole showing them how to use the boots to the kiss to helping out at the very end after they escaped. She gave more boots to. There was boots everywhere. Everybody got boots. Like her goal was to just tell people about the boots because apparently she was the only one in the movie that could afford boots. They had a shop.
Well, she's Oprah. You don't know this.
Yeah, probably so.
You get a boot. You get a boot. You get a boot.
I think that's the part that also disappointed me was like there was so much stuff in that show. I mean that movie that just didn't get utilized very well in that way. Yeah. Like. I would think more people would be flying around with boots. And it's like, so is she one of the wealthiest people? Because like, here's the shop. No one's stealing them. Nothing. Like I don't know. I feel like that they could have used like more of the items than in Mario Brothers. And I'm not asking like, I need a question block thing somewhere. I'm just talking about like, get more creative. Like how would a star work in this movie? How would, how would a mushroom work in this movie? How would all the stuff in the movie? But instead they use it for the environment and not using it in a fun way of creative of doing it. Because, like, using the Super Scope to beat King Koopa at the end was kind of lame for what it is. I'm sorry. I think Mario and Koopa could have gone a little bit better, but we know at the end of the day, this movie was really focused on Luigi and Daisy. At the end of the day, Mario was really more of the side character in this movie, in my opinion. And I wish Mario got a bigger spotlight to really accomplish stuff instead of like, hey, I'm gonna shoot a fireball gun at you under an oil rig hanger thing as the main battle. And I wish it could have gone a lot more epic for what it is. Like, here's the budget, and we can't even get a good epic at the end of this. And it was kind of just, I mean, Lena, the girl, this made up girl that was Koopa's like side chick, had a better epic death than King Koopa did, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
you know, and so.
I'll tell you what the mushrooms in this world was used for. But they only wanted to keep this movie PG, so, you know, they didn't go for it. But if you take the mushroom, it make you strong like bull. It's this world's Viagra. Just letting you know.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, those are my kind of thoughts about rewatching it again. And I do honestly still recommend people to go back and watch it. If you haven't seen it in over like 20 years, I think you should go back and just watch it, and just watch it with more of like a, you know, just a different look of it, and just see like, did this movie get A for, like you say, A for effort for trying its best at the time to do something with a product of a game that honestly doesn't make sense anyways. And I do recommend going back to watch it and look at it like that. And it might be more fun than you think it is for how ridiculous movie is. But it's always going to be in the back of my head of, I wish they went further. And that's why, like, the sequel at the end was something that maybe they were hoping to achieve in the next entry. And so.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that it's worth a watch and a rewatch, especially if you hadn't seen it since you were a kid. Just because I would like to hear you guys say it in the comments. Like, let us know how you felt about the movie watching it again. Because I feel like maybe I'm a little bit more forgiving now, because I also am more forgiving about Street Fighter than I used to be. I mean, I don't love the movie. I'm not gonna tell you I love the movie, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed the A for effort. I mean, there were parts about the movie that I didn't like, and parts about the movie that I was like, it made no sense. But it's a kids movie, man. What can you expect?
Yeah. So yeah, leave a comment down below. Tell us your thoughts, your concerns. Tell us one of the most ridiculous part of that movie. Tell us some of the funniest part of this movie. What ideas do you think it would have been great that they would have added in this movie? Or did you like this movie enough that you wanted to see what a sequel would look like? We would love to hear your thoughts and stuff. I got enough out of this episode that I want to say about Super Mario Brothers. Nam, did you get enough what you needed to get out of it?
Yeah, we done, man. We gonna watch the new one.
All right. So we're gonna head down that pipe, and we'll see you next time on our next episode.